Hello guys, it is Charlie, the host of the Mage System and the host of this channel, and your local twink. I told myself I wasn't going to say it, but I said it anyways. So, I have a video for you today, and I also want to remind you that Ginger just fused, and yeah, I have a video on that. I think I'm going to make an update video though, because there was a part of the fusing story that I completely blacked out, or not blacked out, but it's one of those memories where like, it's not readily available until something reminds you of it, but I was crying and stuff, and I just wanted to tell you about it, as well as like some other integration changes that I didn't think to tell you at the time because I was having a very fuzzy day whenever I recorded that, but yeah. Today I wanted to talk about romance whenever you have trauma/DID. Also, there's a bloody garbage truck outside, so I hope that doesn't disturb you. So, as some old people like to say sometimes, love can make you do crazy things. And when you have trauma, sometimes it can be a little extra, because sometimes love can sort of resemble the relationship that you had with your primary caregiver. Not always, but sometimes. And if you were scared of your primary caregiver as a child, and your partner does something that worries you, sometimes there are adverse responses that are very hard to deal with and cope with. And when you have DID, it's incredibly more complex because you have a whole head of people with adverse responses. So, yeah. The first thing I want to talk about is attachment styles. Attachment styles are the way you attach to people in your life, the way you treat people you're close with, especially whenever there is a strong connection or there's an argument or something like that. So the attachment style you have is given to you in early childhood based on the way that you were raised. So if your parents were good to you and you had all of your needs met and they paid enough attention to you and they did the right things whenever you did something wrong, then you will have a secure attachment style where you are attached to the person you love a normal amount, and whenever you get upset with them, you can do and handle the situation clearly and not get heated or not get avoidant or not be combustive, you know? And that will lead you to have a secure attachment style. Now, the other three attachment styles are caused by childhood trauma, so it is due to the way your parents treat you. And whichever one you get is kind of a cocktail of your genetics and the way you were treated. So, yeah. We have avoidant, which avoidant is exactly what it sounds like. You probably tend to be a little more reserved, and whenever your partner does something that you don't like, instead of getting angry at them or instead of talking it out, perhaps you go to the silent treatment. Not necessarily to manipulate them, you just don't want to talk to them. Maybe you don't even want to talk to them ever again, and it's like no trouble for you. You just, I'm never going to talk to you again, and that's fine. This works for me. And you just avoid the situation. Or maybe you have trust issues and trouble getting close to people and being vulnerable with people. So that's avoidant. And then you have anxious preoccupied, which is more difficult for me to describe, but this one can be a little more clingy whenever you really like somebody. And whenever something happens that you don't like, perhaps your reactions are a little more anger or combustive or trying to change or control the situation, or maybe they're clingy responses, but it's more externalized, and instead of leaving, you try to use your emotions to, yeah, but it's not good. Unless you know, take a page out of Secure Attachment Styles book and try to communicate these effectively. Which, the one thing I do want to say about attachment styles is they are like, what? Sorry, I'm dissociated. You can change them. You can change your attachment style over time. and you can imitate other attachment styles. But we'll get into that. And then the last attachment style is disorganized. Disorganized is probably the hardest to handle, and that is whenever you have kind of like a mix between traits of anxious, preoccupied, and avoidant. I am disorganized, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I definitely could be wrong, but I think in order to have DID, you have to have sort of a disorganized attachment from childhood. So I'm just going to kind of describe at least the way this plays out for me. So my partner does something I don't like, right? Theoretically. I could pendulate between, oh my God, why would you do that? Like, you're such an asshole. Like, I don't express it to them because I try to be healthy about it, but what my brain is doing, in terms of what my brain is doing, just getting very combustive and angry, or it's just like, well, I guess I'm just not a part of this situation anymore. You can do that to someone else. I'm going to block your number. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And, that's probably better for me. That kind of thing. Or it pendulates between the two. And whenever I'm feeling good about somebody, there's part of me that's like, I feel really good about this, but I'm also really afraid of change, and I hate the fact that this person can see right through to these deeply messy aspects of who I am, and they still like me, and I feel a little bit like withdrawing. Or I miss them like a little kid, and I feel clingy as hell because nobody's ever appreciated me in this way before, and I don't really, there's sort of a disorganized nature to it because I am a fragmented person. So that is what a disorganized attachment style is like. And what I want to say in a relationship is that attachment issues feed on attachment issues. Say your partner is avoidant and your partner leaves you on red for 2 days and you don't hear from them. If your other partner is anxious, preoccupied, they might look at that and combust because they feel like they're being abandoned, and they feed on each other. But as scary as that sounds, there's a simple solution here, and that is either to communicate without combustive emotions, without anger or fear. Even if you are angry or fearful, just laying it down like, hey, my brain is a little messy right now, so I wanted to say that if I don't text back for a couple days, it has nothing to, I just feel a little, give me a few, and you communicate your non-communication, or you be consistent anyways. I talked about how I feel all of those disorganized emotions whenever there is a misalignment, but I almost always, keep my behavior consistent. Partially as a way to try and be healthy, and partially because I also have a fear of looking unreasonable. I don't want to look like a crazy person, and I don't want to... And with the avoidant stuff, I'm more likely to act on that, because whenever you're avoidant, sometimes you have a little bit of pride about being avoidant, because, I don't know, that's your coping mechanism. But I think that whenever I am feeling avoidant, and whenever I'm feeling any of them in general, I can tell myself, okay, I feel this way now, but here's the thing I know about myself, is that I won't feel this way later. So that kind of keeps me from acting on it. And so whenever I feel clingy, I still talk to the person the normal amount, and whenever I feel like avoiding them, I still move my thumb and I text them back. And whenever I feel like blowing up in anger, I still communicate myself effectively and do not blow up on them. And whenever I feel like being closed off, instead of opening up and allowing somebody to care about me, I can't force myself to open up, but I I just sit there and I do some internal asking of why that's so scary for me. And doesn't always make it better, but, you know, time will come in and heal things. I think the kind of key to this is just either communicating what you're doing, or just, I would say before you even get too deep, just be like, hey, so this is what my brain does sometimes. So I just want you to know that. Just be patient with me. I'll be patient with you. Just lay that ground stuff out, because I think a lot of us don't have secure attachment styles. So you kind of need to know how your partner's brain works. And so laying that out, and either communicating your non-communication, or like, come on, brain. Just communicating anyway, I guess. I mean, don't force yourself to do anything you're too uncomfortable doing, but you know. The next thing I wanted to talk about is manipulation. And I've been having some conversations in the comments about manipulation today. There's still a bobby pin in my hair. I did not even realize that. My hair, like, gets all messy when I wake up in the morning, and I have to, like, put a bunch of bobby pins on it and then spray it with a bunch of water to get it to do what I want to do. But that's irrelevant. So, yeah, I talked about manipulation in my last video. So when you have trauma, you almost always are going to end up being a little manipulative at some point in your life, whether you realize it or not. And I know this sounds a little dramatic, but hear me out. People pleasing is manipulation, because you're acting in a way that isn't how you naturally feel to get something from somebody. And that is harmful, because it's kind of harmful to you, and it's also harmful to other people, and it can be if you're not communicating yourself effectively. Also, there's just regular old manipulation that you think about when you think about manipulation, but half the time, you're not going to realize it, and I really mean that. For example, say you have kind of this sort of disorganized partner that sometimes goes a couple days without texting you back, and they convince themselves that they're doing it because they are busy, or maybe even just flat out because they don't feel great and they don't feel like talking to you right now. But deep subconsciously, without realizing it, what they're actually doing is not texting you back for a couple days in an effort to text you, because they want you to text them first. They want you to, be like, hey, And so it's almost an unconscious manipulation technique to make sure like you still care about me. It's like sort of them testing you in a way. When you have trauma, you're almost always going to do little things like this if you pay attention to yourself and you know yourself and you learn yourself and you're able to learn how to catch yourself. You're going to notice that you probably do things like this. And it's hard because you have to philosophically analyze where to draw the line between what is good and what is not. I mean, some manipulation is healthy to some degree because, like, for example, schools give their kids letter grades and shit to manipulate them to do better in school. Maybe that's not the best example because I really don't like the school system, but you know what I mean? It only becomes unhealthy whenever, I guess maybe in a relationship it's not the best. I mean, maybe like manipulating your kids into eating broccoli in a healthy way is good, but I guess maybe in a relationship you should be clear. You should just ask them to do what you want them to do. But I wanted to say that manipulation feeds on manipulation. If we go back to the first example of your partner not texting you for a couple days in order to get you to do that, then maybe you in turn start, I don't know, let's say you start using sex as a way to regain their attention and things like that. Then you start using sort of sex as a manipulation tool. And I just wanted to say that the same way attachment issues feed on attachment issues, manipulation feeds on manipulation. And again, the way to solve this is communication. It is communication. It makes things 10 times better, I promise. It's hard. whenever you haven't broken those boundaries yet, but I would recommend, if you really cannot just be like, hey, can I talk to you about this? Use metaphors. Just, I don't know, like say something, like say, hey, you're driving me nuts right now, just as a joke. And if they say how, then you just kind of use a metaphor and describe to them how, in a way, but not overt, not saying it directly, just using a slight metaphor. And if they get it, they get it. I don't know. It's worked for me in the past. Communicating slightly with jokes, because there's kind of truth to every joke and people know that. Or, sending them a song or something like that. Communicates. Same thing works with, like, sex and stuff. You know what I mean? If you slowly, of course, please communicate openly. But, communication can be done metaphorically, but that is if you really cannot say it openly just yet. And then hopefully the metaphors will evolve into you just saying it. That would be nice. But yeah, as far as DID and switching and alters, maybe I am not the best one to comment on how to handle this in a relationship, especially with a singlet, because the only relationship where I have gotten close and told someone that I had DID was with another person who had DID. And so it just kind of worked out because we both handled it healthily, and we know how system works, and, we can be gentle. But yeah, just establish a clear boundary of, hey, you're dating me, but not my alters. Or maybe if they are dating your alters, then you tell them which alters they're dating, or ask them first. I personally wouldn't want anyone dating my alters. I feel like, but that's just me. I feel like, I don't know. It feels like cheating. Because it is to me. But yeah. And then just communicating certain boundaries with certain alters. Sex is a whole different ballpark because, if an alter comes co-conscious, you have to get their consent, and you should tell your partner too. Which I was thinking about the other day, and I was like, If I don't know how to phrase that the right way, so I don't know if I should say it, but I mean, if you have sexual trauma and your alter is formed as that, obviously you don't have to tell the person that is sexually assaulting you that your alter is co-conscious, because they're there to protect you, and they're there for the partner to not know that they're there. But I've found myself in situations before where my system has been so secretive, and it's been so, like, nobody gets to know what's going on in my brain. I mean, you can know I have DID or whatever, but, like, I still don't tell people a lot of the time whenever people are co-conscious or something like that. So in sexual situations, because I was so used to using it as a protection mechanism, if an alter was co-conscious or something like that, not saying anything because it's like, well, I'm not obligated to tell them this. It's my own brain. But in reality, if your partner knows you have DID and it's a comfortable sexual situation that is consensual, which I hope so, if you're uncomfortable, please stop. Something I probably need to learn myself, because that's part of the reason why I didn't tell them sometimes, is because, hey, this is my freaking mechanism. I don't have to tell you. Even just slightly uncomfortable. I know, like, if you have this people-pleasing thing in your head, even if you're slightly uncomfortable, sometimes you're like, I can push through anyway. But if you're slightly uncomfortable to the point where your alters are coming co-conscious to help you, just let them know. But yeah, if your alters are co-conscious and your partner knows you have DID and this is a consensual situation, and it's safe for them to know that, tell your partner that your alter is co-conscious. Get your alter's consent. And get your partner's consent, because your partner needs to know that they are having sex with somebody else too. So, yeah. That is all I have to say, I think. Yeah. I know I'm 19 and I'm not, like, the most experienced person in relationships in general, but this is more just reflecting on things that I've learned about attachment and trauma stuff. It's more like stuff I've learned by the books and then also just observing other people and myself. We'll just say I'm an old soul, okay? And yeah. Anyways, I'll see y'all later. Bye.